that's when the propagation collapses, or they fade away, or they sign off, or something happens and they're gone. And I have no idea who I've been listening to for the last hour. And okay, boy, just take a deep breath. Ask any DXer, what's like the one thing that drives you the most crazy when you're trying to DX? Quite a few of them are probably going to say, when I'm sitting on a frequency and I'm listening, probably been listening for a while, and that station never identifies, but right about the time they finally get it together and everything aligns and they're going to do the identification, poof, that's when the propagation collapses, or they fade away, or they sign off, or something happens and they're gone. And I have no idea who I've been listening to for the last hour. And okay, boy, just take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. Okay. Fortunately, that doesn't happen as often in FMDX thanks to radio data systems and the nice little 4-character alphanumeric code that not every station sends with their signal, but quite a few do. And you don't always get the decode, but when you do, sometimes you get those little bursts of signals and it gets real nice and strong for a second. You get that RDS decode and you grab that screenshot real quick to say, ha ha, I got that station. It's a pretty good feeling. And a lot of times we have to kind of compare that RDS code we received to different online resources or whatever, but there's actually something you can do in SDR Console for those using that awesome piece of software, where it will look it up for you into a database and say, haha, that code you just got, I just found a match, and give it a nice little check mark next to the code. So Console takes some of the work out of that for you. And we're going to show you today how you can update SDR Console to have the most updated PI code information that you would need. Let's get started. Let's get you ready for FMDX season. We are here in SDR Console. I'm in the latest version, which as of this filming is 3.3. And what we're going to do here is, instead of having to, every time you had an RDS decode like we see on our screen right now, go look that up on like FMList or WTFDA, whatever. What we're going to do here is we're actually going to download a list of these PI codes, the identifier codes from different stations that I might hear. And we're going to load it in SDR Console so it can do the work for me and double check it. And when it finds a match, it gives me a nice little pretty check mark next to my code. And it says, hey, bud, you can feel good about this one. We found it. And I don't always rely on that 100%, but it's a pretty good indicator that I've got the station that I think that I do. In my testing over the last year of using this, I found that check mark is pretty accurate. Now, I've cleared out my database here for the purposes of making this video so that we have a nice fresh start. If you have done this process in previous years, you can do the same thing. I'll show you how to do it. It's really up to you. You can just save on top of it. It doesn't matter. But what does matter is making sure that you have the most recent and updated version of SDR Console that you possibly can. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to take you to the SDR Console download page. And we want to make sure that you've got the bare minimum version 3.3, which is the version that we're on right now, or higher. So if you look up in your SDR Console at the top of the page and you see SDR Console version 3.2 or less, it's time to get with it. And the reason for that, by the way, is that Simon and the SDR Console team, they have actually been improving the RDS decode infrastructure. So you get better decodes, more accurate decodes, things like that. So it's in your best interest to make sure you got the most recent version. So we'll put the link in the description below. Go to download here at the SDR Console download page. Scroll down until you see this guy right here. Where it says download, and you'll see the version right here, and you'll see the release date as well. You'll see a 32-bit and 64-bit versions, and there's a little bit up here about the difference between the two. I'm using 64-bit Windows, so I'm going to download mine. Now, you can choose either the Microsoft, the Dropbox, or the web host link. It doesn't really matter. They're doing the exact same thing. I'm just going to choose Microsoft here, and then I'm going to click, when it says here, I'm going to choose download. And then it's going to download that update file. Once it's completed downloading, go to wherever you downloaded that file, run the executable file. If you've used all the defaults, keep doing that, right? Just follow the default prompts. Everything should be fine. It'll update your version of console to at least 3.3 or higher, depending on where you are in the future watching this. Hey, future people. And then you should be good to go. And you'll have the latest and greatest version of console with the latest and greatest RDS decode technology, right? All right. Now, once you've done that, now let's go over here and get you these user lists, these database lists. So we're going to go to fmscan.org. You know, we'll have the link down below. You do need a fmlist.org account to log into fmscan.org. It's the same people, okay? They just have different URLs here for their different purposes. So fmscan is where we're going to download these station lists, but you do have to have an fmlist.org login. I know there's an option here for mediumwavelist.org. Don't use it. It's not going to do any good. You need to have an account through fmlist.org. If you don't have one, get on it. Click register right here. Get yourself an account. You're going to want to have it during FMDX season anyway, I promise. And then once you have that, or if you already have one, enter your credentials here. Now, I'm going to tell you, I did this originally, and I did not have any success logging in using my existing fmlist.org credentials. Now, I could log into fmlist fine, and everything worked. It was great. But fmscan didn't like it. And I've talked to a couple of other DXers who also had the same problem. And let me tell you how I fixed this, because I got it to work today, and I'm so happy about this. Click on Forgot Password. It'll bring up a little dialog box where you put your email address in. That's the one associated with your account. It'll send you a link. Click on that link in your email, right? You'll go to your email, click on a link that you received from FMScan, FMList, and then it'll give you an option to put a new password in. You put your new password in, I think twice, and then come back here, enter that username, your email address, and your password, click login, and you should see this. And you'll know you did it the right way if at the top up here you see next to your email address, it says FMList. If you don't see that, if you see Medium Wave List, you're not in the right spot. You have to have this logged in through FMList for this to work. And the reason for that is if you don't have an FMList login and that you've used to log in here, it's not going to give you the PI codes on the file. You can download the file, the station list, but the PI codes won't be there. The only way to get the PI codes, which are the thing that we need here for our RDS, the only way for that to work is if you are logged in using your FMList credentials. And you'll know that you've done that right when you see this FM list up here at the top. So if you don't see that up there at the top, pause this video, go back, retrace your steps, figure that out. And then once you've gotten in and you see this screen, you see FM list at the top up there next to your email address, we're ready to proceed. We're going to assume as of now that you've done that. Moving on. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to download 3 files. These 3 files are basically, for those of you who are familiar with FMList, it is a station list based off of tropo, meteor scatter, and sporadic E propagation modes. And you'll know, like tropo and sporadic E, you can define those in FMList, the distances that constitute what is considered tropo, what's considered E-skip. And then that gives you a station list based on those mileages or kilometers or whatever that you put in. That's what it's downloading here. It's downloading that user list of all those stations that are in that predetermined area from your location. That's why this has to be tied to your FMList account. It knows your location because it's using that account information. It knows your location you have set up, so it's going to give you a list based on that. So if you've got a buddy who's like, I'll just give you my files, don't do it because their list is going to be different from your list, right? Unless they live around the corner, then you can use theirs, I guess. But, you know, if I'm in Louisiana and my friend's in California list isn't going to really do me any good because they're going to have a bunch of stations that I'm not going to see, and it's not going to really give me any results. So once you're logged in, go down here to the green box, click on Tools, parentheses, User List, etc. You'll see 4 options. This first line right here, User List for Perseus, ELAD, Wind Radio, Station List, SDR Console. This is all one link. You don't have to click on the SDR Console part. Just click on anywhere in that first link. Takes you to the same place. You should see this now, okay? The first thing that you should do is click on CSV format and that little radio button next to it. The reason is we need a CSV file, but just trust me, just do that first. Just click on that first before you do anything else. Click on CSV format. Next, we're going to, one at a time, we're going to download these 3 files. The three files we're going to download are FM plus tropo, FM plus meteor scatter, and sporadic E. Those are the 3 files we're going to download. So you're going to click on the first one here, FM plus tropo, CSV format, and then click download userlist1.csv. Okay. Now when mine downloads, mine has a little parentheses 10 next to it because I've been downloading these files a lot. Yours may or may not have a number next to it. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. You just want to make sure you know which files you have downloaded here. Okay. So in this case, I have userlist1 parentheses 10. Now I'm going to click on FM plus meteor scatter and do the same thing. Just click on that link. This is it. Now, these first two files, they'll download pretty fast. There's, for me, in my location and what I have set up in FM List, I think the first one is 6,700 stations. The second one is 6,800 stations. But this one here, Sporadic E, this one's going to take a while. For me, this is about 20,000 stations on this list. So it's a pretty big file compared to the other two at least. So it's going to take it a second to download. Once it's done, and it's done now. So I've got three files. I've got user list 1. For me, it says parentheses 10. If you've never done this before, it'll just say userlist1.csv, userlist1 parentheses 1.csv, userlist1 parentheses 2.csv. If you're the first time you've ever done this, that's what you'll probably see. Okay. If you've done this before, you may have a different number, whatever. We're done with this. Okay. Now we're back over here in SDR Console. Go to the View tab. Click on Frequency Database. It's going to bring up a window that looks like this. Now, if you've never done this before, this is what you're going to see. Okay, you'll see a blank box here. If you've done this before, you probably have some stations listed here. You sneaky person, you. We're going to get rid of those in a second. On the left-hand side, you'll see, 5 buttons here. On the one on the bottom, the 3 dots, click on that one. Now, if you've done this before, just click Delete All down here. You don't have to. We don't have to, I don't think. I don't know. I did it just to have a clean install. You don't have to, though. You can just install on top of it. That's fine. But if you want a clean install for this year, just click Delete All and you're good to go. If this is the first time you're doing that, you don't have to do that step because you have the same thing I do where it says FM List 0. There's nothing to delete. Before we go any further, over here on the right-hand side, you'll see a list of fields for columns. Okay, there are a couple of different ones you'll have in here. Which ones you choose is really up to you. But at the bare minimum, please make sure you have call ID and PI and PS. Those 3, you're going to want those. And maybe site. Site's probably a pretty good one. So site, call ID, PS, PI. Locator, let's go ahead and throw that one. You know what, let's do a distance and azimuth too. So we're going to throw in all of those. That's the ones that I have checked up in here. Those are probably pretty good. And I'm going to show you where those are going to be later on. After we get the import completed, but just go ahead and get those checked now. Okay. All right. So over here on the left, the button that says FM List, click on that. You'll get a dialog box that looks a little bit like this. Under file name, I'm going to click on the folder icon and I go to my downloads folder or wherever I put the files. And I'm going to choose the first one, which in my case is userlist 1 parentheses 10, hit enter. And now I'm going to hit load. Step 1 is hit load. Once you've hit load, you're going to see you've got a nice list here. Now, how can I make sure that I have everything that I need? If I scroll over here and I look at the PI column right here, this PI column, I should see stuff in it. If you don't see stuff in it, don't go any further. You're not going to get any results. You need to have data in that PI column. More than likely, if you don't have anything in there, it didn't recognize your FM list login, or you were logged in under MeaningWave list. Either way, it's not going to work. You need to have data in that PI column. So make sure that data is there. If you have it, we're good to go. If you don't, retrace our steps back to the whole login process. If you have problems, you can always reach out to the FM list folks and they can help you out. That's what I had to do when I couldn't get my login done. Once you've loaded this and you have your list here, click Add to Database. It's going to pop up this dialog box. Leave the ERP as it is and click Add. Okay? It says I've added 6,710 records. Okay? So the next thing is we're going to repeat that exact same process we just did, those couple things that we just did, to every single one of the files we downloaded. So now I'm going to go to the second file, click on that little folder icon, click my second file that I downloaded, hit OK, hit load, hit add to database, hit add. It's going to load that one. And now I'll go by my folder icon again, click on my third file, which would be my sporadic E file in this case, hit load. It's going to take it a second to load this one because this one is about 3 to 4 times as big, depending on your location and what you have set up. For me, it's a little over 3 times as large. And then once it's loaded all that, now I'm going to click on Add to Database, click Add. And again, it'll take it a second to do this because it's a larger file. You'll see 20,000 definitions for my file. Your number may be different, but that was mine. Okay, once we've done that for all three, we can click this little X. Okay. Click this X again right here. Oh, before we do that, don't click the X just yet. Right here on this one. When you're back to this frequency database options dialog box, you'll see here, in my case, it says FM list 34,194. You're going to have a number here. Click on remove duplicates. The reason we're doing this is because there may be some overlap of stations that are on the Tropo list. They may be on the Meteor Scatter. They may be on the Sporadic E as well. Like I have stations down in Mexico that are going to be on all three. I hit remove duplicates. Now I'm down to 25,000. It just cleans everything up to make it easier. Okay. So once I've done the remove duplicates, I close this box out. I close this dialog box, and there it is. How cool is that? I don't have to look this up. I don't have to go anywhere else. I can just look in my SDR program, and it tells me that the RDS code that I'm receiving is good to go. Technology is amazing, isn't it? So there's my 986D. That's my check mark. That's Laplace, Louisiana, WZRH. Now, let me show you how this kind of connects. So go back up here to your View tab. Actually, no, let's go to Receive. Go to the Receive tab. And under Broadcast FM, hit the little down arrow and go to Database. And what this is going to do is it's going to bring up for you a list of all the decodes that it's done since you kind of started up decoding. And it's going to tell you all the ones where you see right here where it says yes right here, yes right here, yes right here. Anything you see yes under this DB column, that's a station where it found a match between what it received and what's in that database we just downloaded. So there's some ones up here that don't have a match. Okay? May not be a legitimate decode, maybe. These others, it found matches. So we know those are good decodes. Okay? So in this case, and I'll use that, by the way. I'll leave some of these different receivers up here. I'll have multiple receivers on different frequencies. I'll kind of let that run overnight sometimes. It's kind of like a quasi-auto logger. And then I go back in the next morning, go to my broadcast FM, go to my database, and I look at that database to see what all it caught. And anywhere it says yes, I'm like, okay, I feel pretty good about those. And then I might go look them up and you know, things like that. But that's where that kind of comes from. And that's how this information is also, in addition to being live on screen, how this information can also be helpful for you after the fact as well. And that's where those fields that we select on that little columns list, that's where they're going to export to, is what we just looked at, that database log file. All right. One other little piece of RDS helpful hints here for you. And I'm doing this because I updated another one of my computers earlier and I realized I hadn't done this. So there's probably other folks who haven't done this before. Go into, on your Receive tab under Broadcast FM, click on the down arrow again, click on Options. And you want to be on this first options one right here, this first list. So just if you don't see what you see here, click on Options and you'll see the same thing I have here. There are two settings you want to double check. Number one is right here where you see RDS rest of the world, RBDS, US, Canada only. Choose the option that's right for you. Okay. And then over here under de-emphasis, US, Canada, South Korea is 75, rest of the world is 50. Again, choose the option that's right for you. What this will do is help to make sure that it's trying to decode the right way. Okay. Those are different things that will help this SDR console RDS decoder know what it should be looking for and how to handle it. Now, if you have the wrong one selected, you may still get some RDS decodes, but not as many as you should. So double checking that, making sure those settings are right, will just make sure you get all the RDS decodes, as many as possible. Again, there may be times where you get a signal and you don't get an RDS. That either means they don't have one or it's just not strong enough. It's not coming through because not every station has that RDS signal within their signal jacked up real strong, right? Some of them are kind of weak. Some of them, it's like instant, like it just pops in. It just depends. Every station's gonna be a little bit different. But by having those settings in the right place, at least you know you put yourself in the best position to hopefully get those RDS decodes into console. If you found this video to be helpful, I hope that you have. We'd appreciate a thumbs up, and don't forget to leave a comment as well. It's always appreciated. And might as well go ahead and subscribe and hit that bell icon as well so you'll be notified when new videos are available. We're adding stuff all the time. For all of us here at DX Central, my friends, 73 Best of DX. Now let's go back and hit the bands.